Pittsburgh Steelers have announced their 2022 regular season schedule. We're looking at it right now. Let's just run through this very quickly together because it is a schedule announcement. And I want to just talk through each game. And I'm not going to predict who's going to win or who's going to lose. I just want to talk about each game. Immediately, I hate week one. I hate the fact that we get scheduled against the AFC champs in week one. And it just, in my opinion, that's one of the worst draws we could have gotten. And it's at Cincinnati. I don't think that's a good game for Trubisky in his first game as a Steeler or Kenny Pickett in his first game as a Steeler. Either way, I don't think that's a good matchup for us. Frankly, the way our defense looks right now in the secondary in particular versus the Bengals, wide receivers, and Joe Burrow. The Bengals probably overachieved last year. Getting to the Super Bowl was probably a little bit more of an accomplishment than they probably should have based on their level of their team overall. That being said, even if they regress this year, they're still going to be a very good team. They're probably still going to be a top 3 or 4 team in the AFC. Like I said, with our offense currently being and that's the question mark because we don't really know what the quarterback situation is going to look like or how well our quarterbacks could play this year. I don't like us to win that game. I don't like the fact that we have to get stuck with them as our first game of the season. That being said, on to week 2, we get our home openers versus the Patriots. And while the Patriots were a donkey team in the past, Mac Jones is a fairly limited quarterback. He's not going to do much to threaten you vertically. The Patriots just had one of the weirdest draft classes in recent history. So I don't feel much of a threat from any of the rookies per se. The wide receiver room is not that great. And frankly, I think we match up pretty well with them. So their strength is having a strong offensive line and a good running game. And we have a very good defensive front. That's the strength of our defense. So I feel pretty good about our chances to win that game. On to Cleveland. We're going to Cleveland for week 3. I think that could be easily a win as well. Because Deshaun Watson, if the NFL public relations team and the NFL front office has any self-awareness, Deshaun Watson will not be playing football in week 3. So we're going to be getting the backup quarterback for the Browns. I think it's Jacoby Brissett as of right now. They also have Josh Dobbs on the roster. Baker Mayfield's still on the roster, but I don't think any of us assume he's going to stick around for them long term. And even if he does, we played Baker Mayfield pretty well last year. So I believe that will be a W for us. But, we'll see. There's a lot of stuff up in the air with that situation. The Jets in week 4, and this is kind of the stretch where we need to pick up at least probably 2 wins between week 2 and week 4. We need to win some games here. So the Jets are our last little break before we have the Bills, the Buccaneers, and Miami is hit or miss. I really don't know what to expect from them. I love having a bye week in week 9, by the way. I think it's a really good time to have the bye. So I do like the timing for that. But yeah, the Jets, they're a very improved team. But frankly, it comes down to their quarterback situation. We don't know what to expect from Zach Wilson. The Bills are the current Super Bowl favorite. And I'm pretty sure the Bucs are the current favorite to make the Super Bowl in the NFC. So we're fighting uphill battles in both those situations. Miami, yeah, they had Tyreek Hill. But if you've seen the video, that's all over social media of Tua Tagovailoa trying to throw a deep ball at Tyreek Hill. And he underthrows Tyreek Hill. Basically has to stop and wait for the football. You might know that Hill's role in that offense is probably going to look much different than it did in Kansas City, and he's probably not going to be as dynamic of a weapon because of the limitations of the quarterback position. So the Dolphins game, it's a bit of a toss-up. So they do have some really talented players. I'd say the same for Philadelphia. Philadelphia was a playoff team this past year. Jalen Hurts has some limitations as well. So again, it's a bit of a toss-up. The Eagles have a very good offensive line. I don't know if their secondary and their defense in particular will be up to snuff, though. Week 9, a pretty well-timed bye week, I believe, will give us a little bit of a break. Coming off of what I consider to be actually a fairly difficult opening part of our season schedule. Then we get the Saints and their team. And frankly, we're playing a lot of teams with a lot of question marks, so I'll just be honest. Because the Dolphins with their quarterback situation, the Eagles, the Browns with their QB situation, the Jets, the Patriots, even like all of these teams, we really don't know what we're going to get at the quarterback role for those teams going forward because their QBs have been limited or inconsistent in the past. And it's somewhat the same with the Saints. Jameis Winston's coming off the season. He missed most of the year with a torn ACL. And he is very much the hit-or-miss guy. He's either going to throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, or he's going to throw for 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. There's really no in-between for him. So we'll see how that balances out. And, of course, Sean Payton's no longer with that team. Then we get a home game against the Bengals. That's not fantastic. I'm not loving that. Again, like I said, the Bengals are a team that is – well, I shouldn't say historically. Within the majority of my time as a fan, we have beaten the Bengals fairly regularly. I don't know. I just don't think we match up well with them given their current roster and our current roster. So I would lean to the Bengals because right now, our main enemy is teams that score a lot of points. Because even if our defense holds up well for a quarter or 2 quarters, we saw this in the playoffs against Kansas City. Even if our defense holds up really well for 2 quarters of play, it doesn't matter because eventually they get worn down and things just fall apart, and we can't keep pace with some of these better offensive teams. Now, again, getting rid of Ben Roethlisberger, having him walk into retirement with his arm that was, for the most part, shot, no downfield accuracy, frankly, from him, and our offense was just so dink and dunk and predictable. Getting to finally move on from that, we'll hopefully move on from that. We'll reinvigorate the offense a little bit, but I don't know if it'll be enough to close the gap with a team like the Bengals. The Colts, we're going to Indianapolis for that game. Frankly, that's another game I consider to be a bit of a toss-up. It comes down to Matt Ryan, who's very clearly been on a bit of a downhill slope the past couple of years. Obviously, maybe playing with Jonathan Taylor in that offensive line will help his career and kind of extend it, but he's definitely headed in the wrong direction, definitely going down the mountain. So we'll see what he looks like for the Colts this year, because that is a team that has some very talented players: DeForest Buckner, Michael Pickett Jr., Jonathan Taylor, Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson. You know the guys. But overall, as a team, they've underachieved in the past couple of years. At the Falcons, Week 13, if we don't win that, you might as well just cancel the rest of the season, because we should win that game. And we finally get Baltimore for the first time in the year. In Week 14, it's a home game. Took you long enough to get to the Baltimore Ravens. It I do like not putting Baltimore in our early season schedule because we already have so many good teams there to begin with. And when I say good teams, I mean potentially the Browns, depending on the quarterback situation, the Bengals, the Pats I consider to be a solid team. The Buccaneers are up there. So I don't mind having Baltimore wait till the very end. I do hate playing them twice in the span of 4 weeks. I don't love that. But, we're probably going to split with them, frankly. It's just what's going to happen. It seems to be that way with us usually with Baltimore. They're going to have healthy Lamar Jackson this year. And I know people will like to doubt Lamar, quite frankly. I understand why there are some limitations to the game. But when he is healthy, I don't think we have a defensive player on our roster that matches up really well with him what he does. But that being said, them not throwing the ball as often as a team like Cincinnati plays into our strengths yet again. We are primarily defensively, we're best defending the run and rushing the passer. Those are our 2 best areas on defense. Our actual pass coverage is a bit of a question mark. And frankly, some of our run defense at the linebacker level is also questionable, although Miles Jack will hopefully clean that up for us. At Carolina, Week 15, we should win that game. Doesn't matter if Sam Darnold or Matt Corral is starting. That should be a W. The Raiders in Week 16 is, again, a question mark. They have a lot of talent. They got Chandler Jones. They got Max Crosby, who are probably 2 of maybe the top 10 edge rushers in the game today. If you were doubting Max Crosby still, he led the NFL in, well, he led defensive ends in pressures this past season. Pressures are predicted for sacks, so even if he didn't have 60 sack numbers, he was still one of probably the 3 or 4 best defensive ends in the NFL this past year. Pair with Chandler Jones. They got Devontae Adams, who played with Derek Carr in college. And I don't know if they set records, but they certainly look like they set records based on the numbers they had together in college. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Darren Waller, of course, is still there. Josh Jacobs is still there. Colton Miller's improving every year. So we'll see what that team ends up looking like by the time we reach them in Week 16, because there's going to be a lot of growth or a lot of decline for that team between the start of the season and the end of the season. The Ravens, again, Week 17, like I said, we're probably split with them, frankly, just based on where we are at as a roster and where they're at as a roster. They're not as dominant as they were previously. We are also probably not as dominant as we were previously. Part of that being the quarterback situation, frankly, and also our offensive line. And then we get the Browns again, Week 18. I hate that. I wish we got the Browns twice in the first 9 or 8 weeks. Because we know for a fact, or we don't know for a fact, we can assume that the NFL knows what they're doing. Deshaun Watson will not play for, at a minimum, I would say, the first 6 games. Based on the allegations against him, I would say he probably won't play for at least the first 8. I think that's a fairly safe bet. And I could see it going up to being as much as a 10 to 12 game suspension. I wouldn't really be upset if it's more than that, frankly, based on the allegations and the court process, everything going on right now. But it's the NFL. You really don't know what the NFL is going to do. And I really don't have much of a take on the situation because it's a legal process playing. It's ongoing. I don't really know what I can do about that. I don't have any inside information, so I'm not going to go making too many bold proclamations there. But I think from take the human element out of it and look at it from a pure football standpoint, we wanted to play the Browns twice in the first 8 games. We would have gotten Jacoby Brissett twice then probably. Throw in the human element of it, and it's a much more complicated situation. So I just wanted to boil it down really quickly and make it very basic. But there is, of course, a very complicated situation ongoing there with Deshaun Watson and the allegations against him and the legal situation. So I don't want to throw out the human element entirely. We'll see what happens. We have to wait and see how the NFL is going to handle that situation, that potential suspension. But that's my brief breakdown on, I say brief, it was probably over 10 minutes easily. That's my breakdown of our regular season schedule, which was announced probably in the past, I'd say, half an hour or so. Overall, it's not an ultra difficult schedule. It's not an easy one either, I would say. I know we've kind of jumped back and forth between having a really hard schedule and a really easy schedule based on a winning percentage over the past couple of years. This is a little bit above the average mark in the NFL in terms of strength of schedule. That being said, I think we travel maybe the least of any team this year. We've had a lot of games. They're all East Coast. I think actually all of our games, I'm pretty sure, are East Coast. So from a mental perspective, from a physical perspective, and recovery perspective, hopefully that benefits Pittsburgh in the long run. But I am very interested to see how this rookie class performs, and I'm very excited to get back to Steelers football, even though, that's a couple of months away. So this is really just a tease for a very long, long summer. But hopefully there's some positive coming out of Steelers camp, and we get some tidbits of information between now and then that kind of keep us going until we actually reach the preseason and then eventually the regular season. But for now, guys, that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.